What's up? You're watching Gian Talk Sports. It's been 12 days since USC's last game, coming off a bye and playing tomorrow night at the Collie versus Cal. What to expect? I think tomorrow night's going to really show what kind of a coach Clay Helton is, because I'm telling you, it would be very easy to lose this game. And I would put that completely on coaching, because like I keep repeating myself every week, but talent-wise, there's no team in the Pac-12 that compares. Not even Washington, who are currently ranked number 4 in the nation. The thing you got to worry about with Cal is they have an explosive passing attack. I think they're definitely in the top 10 in yards per game, maybe even top 5. Don't quote me on that, but they have an NFL prospect at QB in Davis Webb. A lot of people are saying he's actually better than Jared Goff, last year's number 1 pick. So, you got to watch out with these guys. They call it the Bear Raid, instead of the air raid, because they spread the field out and they throw the ball around like crazy. But the only way to beat these guys is by scoring first. Going 3 and out at the beginning of the game is going to put you in a hole, because they're going to score. I don't see USC completely stopping them, because no one has stopped them this season. But on defense, it's a completely different story. Cal is currently ranked 105th out of 128 teams in FBS play in total defense. They're 54th in passing yards per game, which sounds like they're middle of the pack, but the reason why they're middle of the pack is because they're 122nd in rushing yards per game, which tells me you can run the ball on them at will. And I'm sure you get past too, but if you're able to take up chunks of yardage, I think they're giving up 270 yards a game on the ground or something like that. That might be way off on that, but they're giving up enough yards per game where you don't have to throw the ball on them. And that's what USC needs to do: run the ball, eat up clock, and score a lot of points. Keep them off the field. If they don't have the ball, they can't put any points up, and their defense sure as hell isn't going to do anything. So tomorrow night's going to be interesting. I expect an exciting game. I'm not sure what the line is, but I think USC wins by 20. I think they score a lot in the first half and then kind of go into a lull in the second half and let Cal fans think they're going to have a big comeback. But no, it's a must-win game, like every game is this season. I think USC steps on the throat and kills these guys tomorrow. Speaking of college football, a lot of people are talking about having 2 teams from a conference be included in the college football playoff this season. And I don't see where that's coming from. Some people are suggesting 2 SEC teams. That's a joke. The second team would be Texas A&M, and they barely beat UCLA at home in overtime. And as we all know, UCLA is terrible this season. Who else? People are saying Clemson and Louisville. Well, you know what? Louisville has destroyed everybody except Clemson. They lost at Clemson. The interesting thing about Clemson, however, is they have 3 extremely close wins this season. And, a win is a win, whatever, and they're undefeated, but they're beatable. For whatever reason, they even though they have almost the exact same team they had in last season's national championship game, they're just not as good this year on offense. They had a big game against Florida State this weekend, and they could lose that one. Personally, I think the ACC is just a cut above the Big 12 when it comes to weakest conferences in the Power 5. I don't know how you could justify 2 ACC teams in the 14 playoff. A lot of people are talking down the Pac-12, really saying, oh, you could put 2 teams in over the Big 12 and the Pac-12 because Washington isn't that good. I'm like, I don't know where you get that. Maybe Washington isn't that good, but, so far they're undefeated and they've destroyed everybody except Arizona. And I don't know the explanation for the Arizona game, but if you look at every other game this season, they've completely just dominated everyone. They're dominating teams the way Alabama's dominated teams. So it's going to be a big test when they play at USC because, like I mentioned before, the talent thing. But I don't know. I think Washington's for real. Even if they beat USC, if they win the Pac-12 conference, they deserve to get in over any non-conference team with 1 loss. That's including Ohio State, who just lost to Penn State. That's the other team that people are talking about. If Ohio State beats Michigan, then we're talking about, well, Michigan deserves a shot too. But I don't know. I don't buy it. There's a 3-way tie going on there. Michigan beat Penn State beat Ohio State, but I think if Ohio State beats Michigan, they have the tiebreaker over the 3 because Penn State's lost 2 games this season in league play. No, I think they've lost once in league play, and the other was non-conference to Pittsburgh because I think, Pittsburgh's in the ACC. Either way, there's just a big mess. I don't believe any non-conference team should be in the playoff. I think if you play that conference championship game, you have an extra win over tough competition per se. You know, I mean, obviously there's like the SEC East, which isn't as strong this year, and you know, the I guess the West, the Big Ten West, are not that strong, but you know, and then the Big 12 doesn't even have a conference championship game. I don't see the Big 12 making the playoff because Baylor's undefeated and West Virginia are undefeated, but their out of conference schedule is just awful. Point to all of this is Clemson is the team to watch to drop out of the playoff because I think they're going to lose before the end of the season. If not to Florida State on Saturday, then there's somebody that they're supposed to beat. On to the World Series. For those of you watching, I think Chicago's winning right now. They're winning 1-0 last I checked. But 12 of the last 13 teams to win Game 1 of the World Series has gone on to win the entire thing. So Cleveland's got that going in their favor. They're a strong home team. I guess they're hitting 288 at home. Only hitting 235 on the road, though. So if the Cubs can steal one tonight, they got a good chance of wrapping it up at home and winning 4 straight. I mean, I really don't know. I feel like everybody wants the Cubs to win, but Cleveland's just been so underrated. Like, nobody's talked about them all season. They came out of nowhere. And I think they got a good chance. If I was going to make a prediction, now that I know what the score is for Game 2, I'm thinking Cubs might win in 5. But fuck it. I've been saying Cleveland's going to win, so let's say Cleveland in 6. And now for the Warriors. Basketball season started last night, and for those of you watching, the Warriors super team got embarrassed by the Spurs 126-100. And you got a lot of the bandwagon fans, or you know, the fringe Warriors fans already jumping off and proclaiming the season's over. Like, nobody expected these guys to go 82-0, even with the super lineup. And the Warriors are going to need time to get some chemistry together. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure when the Miami team with LeBron and Bosh and Wade got together, they started off a little slow and ended up making it to the finals that year. And I feel like something similar is going to happen this year. The one thing I can complain about is they're still relying on the outside shot too much, which is surprising because KD can penetrate. He has no problem getting to the rim. And I think Steph needs to add that to his game a little more because he can get to the rim pretty easily, but he always settles on the outside shot. That being said, you know, his numbers didn't look too bad last night. He was hitting the 3. KD was hitting the 3. The guy who wasn't hitting anything was Klay Thompson. He went 5 for 13. And I mean, if those were 8 threes he missed, I'm not sure what his numbers were from 3-point land, but it's you know, they lost because they couldn't get to the rim. San Antonio outshot them from the free throw line by a ton. I think the Warriors only got 18 shots from the free throw line to 30-something from the Spurs. And the Spurs shot 52% from 3-point land. I mean, it was just one of those nights. The Spurs were on, the Warriors weren't. But I'm not worried about it. It's one game in the season, and there's plenty left. We'll see how the rest of the NBA is, though. Like, last I checked, Philadelphia was beating OKC. So, I mean, it might be just one of those weird seasons, but I'm looking forward to it. October is one of the best months of the year because everything's going on. You got NFL, you got the World Series, you got basketball, you got college football. I mean, there's just so much sports to do that there will be no binge watching of Netflix series for me. Anyways, that's going to do it. Make sure to check out all the rest of our stuff at dngtalk.com. We got another podcast we did last night. It's already up on SoundCloud and YouTube. Check them out. Review, subscribe, follow, all that noise. We appreciate your help. And leave comments on the video, guys. I mean, you're watching them, but nobody's saying anything. Disagree with me or agree with me and tell me how right I am. Before I go, DFS plays. Devontae Booker's probably starting at running back for CJ Anderson, who hurt his knee. $3,700 on DraftKings. I think he's $5,300 on FanDuel. You can't beat that. Stock up, load up on your wide receivers or your quarterbacks or whatever, but Devontae Booker looked good on Monday night, and he's cheap, so go with him. Anyways, like I said, dngtalk.com. I'm out. Fight on.